Welcome to the Modern Homes Podcast with Rob Clements, and he is Frank Dominic, and we are here to talk a little bit about Myrtle Beach Home Show today. We are at the Myrtle Beach Convention Center. If this setting looks different to you guys, it is, because we're going to be here all weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at the Myrtle Beach Convention Center. Are you excited about this, Frank?
Super excited.
You're super excited? Are you going to be able to sleep the next couple of nights waiting for this thing to start?
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit of toss and turn.
Get a little bit of tossing. Well, no, I really actually enjoy this. You've done a couple of these. I've done probably 10 years straight of these.
Yeah.
And it's a different environment than you ever get anywhere, because you're meeting people, you're meeting sometimes different kinds of personalities. And it's like you said, sometimes you might just be going through a day and thinking, you know, did I get any good leads? And then you get that one like you guys got that last time at with the real estate deal.
Yeah, good deal.
How much did you guys make on that one? I mean, that was
pretty
ended up being
good
a big
deal.
contract.
They sold a beachfront condo and bought a brand new home.
Wow, that's crazy.
Got a brand new home.
Well, we're going to talk about this a little bit more, but we are, for all of you listening, we're going to get into our questions later in the show, as we always do. But before we get started, I want to talk a little bit about some things that are happening at CCU. Now, as you know, Frank, I'm a Coastal Carolina graduate, and I always like to support the school. So I get this magazine, and it's called Coastal Carolina, the Coastal Carolina magazine. I'm going to tell you, very classy magazine. This isn't like a pamphlet.
Well done.
Feel that thing, man. That's nice, right? And what I wanted to point out as you're looking through that is that Coastal Carolina now has a space program. And if you show that cover to the thing, they actually have a space program at Coastal Carolina. And one of the best things about one of the best schools in the country. Well, I mean, seriously, I believe it. It used to be that Coastal Carolina was the fun school. It's near Conway, South Carolina, which is near Myrtle Beach. You'd come out and
Would you say almost a junior college?
I would never say a junior college. I'm a coastal grad, baby. That's for the outsiders to say that stuff. Yeah. But there was a time where Coastal Carolina was a subset of University of South Carolina. Gotcha. So it was one of those, I can't think of the word right now, but like a
satellite campus.
Satellite campus, basically. And they went
your degree says Coastal.
Coastal Carolina. Oh, well, God, I'm not that old, Frank. Anyway, that was like a long time ago.
Before my time.
But actually, Coastal has come up in the world. So I do want to say, good job to Coastal Carolina. I mean, getting a space program,
impressive.
But it's such an impressive thing. Lauren, did you know about the space program? Yeah. She's saying yes for those who are off camera, but so this is really cool, and they were talking about all the benefits. Look, I think college kids nowadays, you just need to be exposed to as much as you can be exposed to. For sure. And so for them to be able to get out there and learn a little bit about how satellites work and stuff, that's real world.
It's real world.
So what you been up to, Frank?
Real estate. Real estate.
Man, nothing fun.
Playing in my band.
Yeah.
About 1 or 2 gigs a weekend.
About 1 or 2. Well, you know, I just came back from Orlando myself, so I'm going to talk a little bit about this experience. And this is the Modern Homes Podcast, but I also like to get a little flair when we're talking about customer service, when you're talking about attractions of things. And sometimes I actually take things that I see at the theme park and I try to apply them to my company.
Sure.
And why do I do that?
Staying on their cutting edge. And they have more experience with customer service per capita per day.
They have to, right? They're dealing with so much, and I think if the big guy can do it, can I apply it to my little business here in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina?
And you're actually borrowing their R&D.
Yeah, well, I mean, you might as well, right? You go out and you see it every day. So I go to the Universal Studios, which is one of our favorite places ever. Go to Halloween Horror Nights and check all this stuff out. And look, if you haven't been, when's the last time you went down there? Has it been a minute for Universal?
Universal was probably 7 years.
Oof, you got to get back out there. Harry Potter's opened up, Velocicoaster, all these things. But for those who haven't been there in a while, I will tell you, you get down there and it's immersive, and they get the idea of pizzazz. And I feel like for us in the homes business and the real estate business, this is all about catching attention.
Yeah.
I mean, do you agree? When you're listing your home for the first time, you want people to look in the sea of options and see your home and go, that's the one I'm going to.
You want it to stand out. That's why people stage their homes if they're doing it correctly. They have a realtor that says, declutter your house.
Declutter your house.
Neutralize your walls.
What do you think about that, though? You know, some people are very sensitive. How do you handle it when you got that customer that you think's a little sensitive, and you got to give them some information you think will help sell their house, but you know it might be sensitive?
At the end of the day, it's their home, so they're allowed to do what they want. But best practices, my experience, even if a house is dense with items, if they're organized well, we talked about this on a previous podcast, a furnished home sells faster than an unfurnished home. It shows better. Because if you have a completely blank home, you have to do a little bit of virtual staging, but if the person actually sees it, A lot of the population walks in, kind of included there. I walk in, I see an empty house. I like the walls, I like the angles, but I don't have that vision to see the whole room sometimes.
Have you been in a house and seen any kind of like odd decoration yet that you're like, I don't know about that one?
I've seen some odd decorations and I've seen some odd painting.
Odd painting, odd decorations. Years ago, I was building a custom home, and this was a beautiful home, and the guy's doing all these amazing things. He puts a sauna in his master bathroom, just a really nice home. And he said, I'm doing wallpaper in New York. I'm doing wallpaper on the walls, Rob. You're going to love it. So I go in his powder room, all cheetah all over his wallpaper. It was like cheetah dots all over. I thought, interesting.
They weren't my listings, but I've shown a few homes that have a lot of taxidermy going on. You got a lot of heads.
Oh, yeah.
Full animals.
That's very popular in Wyoming, I've heard.
With the mountain lion.
Right. You don't see that as Myrtle Beach quite as much.
Not as much, but I've seen a few here.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Some wild animal stuff, some heads.
Some heads, yeah.
And not deer.
Are you into hunting? Are you a hunter? I'm not a hunter either. It's one of those things
I respect it, but it's not my thing.
Yeah, if you were a hunter, would you be, like put the head on the wall, or would you be eating the stuff? I mean, what's your
food?
Yeah,
I would not be displaying.
So.
Wouldn't be a trophy hunter.
Yeah, I'm not a trophy hunter either.
But like I said, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. I mean, like I said, I play guitar, and I know guys that have walls full of guitars. Typically, like when you go into a house, we talked about this before, and they have a high-level gourmet kitchen, they're not cooking.
Well, okay, so let's go there, because today I actually was asked to go do a remodel appointment. And one thing that is important for the Modern Homes podcast, we're talking about how do you make your home more enjoyable for yourself? Sure. I mean, you're doing it for yourself first and foremost. So I go into this guy's house, and the first thing I notice, here's a trick for all my sales guys out there, I notice he's got a guitar, I believe it was a ukulele and a violin. He's got a piano over here. And I said, hey, you play music, I guess, right? And he said, yep, I've been in some bands. And, we start talking about the Greg Rolls Theater. He knows the drummer over there and things. And I'm picking up a lot of cool things just from the way he has it decorated. But at the end of the day, and this is one for the Modern Homes podcast, he said, my home, it's a little older now. I love the location, but I want to modernize it. I want to make it look better. So we ended up looking at all this stuff, all these great decorations for him that spoke to him. And he said, I'm now ready to put the shiplap up on the walls, change out the flooring and all that. And I think it's an interesting thing. You can always be changing the feel of your house to whatever you want it to be.
Sure.
Yeah. So anyway, back to the Orlando in the Universal Studios. So I'm down here and I'm noticing the customer service. Now, that's a hot button of mine. And
over last year, because this is an annual trip.
Year over year. Now, here's the interesting thing. Now, I think I've talked about this on the Leader Mentality show. When I was out there this year, the service was better than last year. Nice. It was better than last year. And what I realized is I think that somewhere in between, somebody recognized there was a gap in customer service, and they said, we've got to fix this thing.
Maybe it was coming out of that COVID run.
I think that's certainly a part of it.
And get their feet back under them. You're basically, maybe in some ways, restarting your business again.
I think there's a little bit of that. You went from desperation hiring to now we're finding people.
I need people to now I need the right people.
Yeah, now there's people back on the market looking. But anyway, my big takeaway was I was talking to my wife. We had one kind of questionable customer service experience, and she said, that person's really terrible. And I said, that person's not terrible, their manager's terrible. And that's how I feel, 100%.
Yeah, training failed them.
Yeah, training failed them. So with yourself, we're going to jump into some questions here in a little bit, but what's your best customer service advice as a man who's been a business owner before? You've run a company with many different people at it. What's your...
Mine's really simple. And I tell anybody in any kind of trade, any kind of sale, any kind of business owner, remember to try it, always think like a customer. When people get involved, be it a restaurant or an auto mechanic, they think about, oh my gosh, this job's going to be hard. These people got to understand. And they start going into that. They don't understand. Well, you're a customer too. So when you walk into a bank and you're a mechanic, you don't know how a bank runs.
Yeah.
So you have to reformat, and you're expecting a certain level of customer service. Then somebody walks into your shop and you're not giving that level. You're not giving that understanding. It's like you always have to think like a customer.
Yeah, think like the customer. Well, it goes like this.
Because you're a customer everywhere else.
I've always said, we could have a 1% failure rate, but to that one person who came in for that 1%, we're terrible. And I don't want that. I never want that.
Just like in real estate, I put an offer, was accepted on a house today. We went back and forth a little negotiating. Yeah. But my client's like, let's go in here. And I'm like, would you accept that offer? She's like, well, no. And I'm like,
well, there you go. Yeah.
Think like the seller.
Yeah, think like the seller. Absolutely.
Would you sell this house to that person for that? No, never. But you're asking them to do that.
I found that it's almost like in negotiating, the biggest mistake some people make is they assume they're smarter than the other person. I'm going to get the deal. I'm going to get it over.
That's also not remembering to think about the other side.
No, absolutely.
It's the same thing. Yeah.
We talked about fantasy football a little bit last week. You'll get that guy who in your league, he tries to trade you some scrubby player for like your best player, and you're going,
I hear good things about him.
Yeah, right. He's on the way up. I'm like, and I want your Joe Montana.
He's on the come up, this guy. Trust me. Maybe another Montana. Maybe.
Did you like how I threw a Montana reference just in case you haven't been watching football in a few years? Yeah.
That's my reference. You got it.
Absolutely. Well, let's jump into some home show. I do want to talk about this. It is this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at the Myrtle Beach Convention Center in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
Come see me Friday and Saturday morning.
Come check out Frank. He's going to be here. Rob Clemens is going to be here. We have Lauren here. We're all here. We're here to answer questions. Yeah. We, as always, we're going to be talking about porch enclosures. We're going to be talking about room additions, bathrooms, kitchens, maybe a little roofing, and home building and real estate. What are you bringing with you? You have some little extra goodies you like to do.
I'll be handing out some little giveaways.
You're going to tease the crowd. You got to come see them.
It's a teaser. You got to come see me for it.
All right, cool deal. Well, let's get into a little bit of home show right after this.